all for joining. We are going to get started, and as people trickle in from the waiting room and whatnot, they will be able to watch the recording as well. So thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening. We are here to talk about some of the best practices that Jason, Michelle, myself, and Kat have seen over the last 2+ years of doing our outreach, and just kind of have this annual meeting to give you updates on what 2025 had and what 2026 has in store. So before we get started, I wanted to do brief housekeeping. Please stay off mute until we ask if anyone has questions, um, or until we have a time for comments. The chat is open and you can access that from the bar at the bottom of your screen where it says chat. You can just click it and type your question, and Michelle and I will be monitoring the chat to make sure all those questions get answered. When it is time to come off mute, you can also find that in the bottom bar. You can just click that microphone to come off mute and ask your question, say your comment, etc., etc. So if you have any questions, as I said, type them in the chat and Michelle and I will get those answered promptly. For our introductions, many of you, or to begin with, we are going to start by opening up the chat and typing your name and your Firewise or fire adapted community into the chat. All right, nice to see everyone naming their fire adapted community. Seems like we have all four shores represented right now.
Michelle, I'm trying to type it in, but it's not coming up. Do I?
Have you clicked the chat function, the little chat icon that's at the bottom bar on your screen?
Yes.
Perfect. And then you have to type where it says message everyone. You can type your name and your fire adapted community.
Request access for a. Um, okay, well, it's not working like that for me. When I hit chat, it comes up new chat plus chat. Oh, here it is. Message everyone. Here it is. I'm sorry.
Perfect.
Apologize.
All good. All right. As everyone else is putting their name and fire adapted community in the chat, we're going to do our brief introductions. My name is Cricket Baldwin. I'm sure some of you have heard me speak at the various webinars this fall. I am a wildfire resiliency fellow hosted by South Lake Tahoe Fire and the Tahoe Resource Conservation District. My co-fellow Kat also partners with me in assisting Michelle and Jason with the Fire Adapted Communities program, and she'll join the call later. Michelle McLean is also on the call. She is the Fire Adapted Communities Program Coordinator, and Jason Brand is our Fire Adapted Communities Program Manager. You'll be hearing from all of us throughout the evening. So for the rest of this meeting, as I said, the goal is to kind of revisit what it means to be a fire adapted community, provide some of the lessons learned from 2025, and look forward to 2026, knowing what we know with best practices for creating a fire adapted community, and the outreach and activities that go alongside that. And then we'll have time at the end of the meeting for open discussion and comments for you all to come off mute and share your questions. So, to begin with, this is the Fire Adapted Communities Wheel. We wanted to revisit this to emphasize a couple points for brainstorming for next year's Fire Adapted Community activities. The biggest thing to note is that a lot of what we do with fire adapted communities falls under the resident mitigation. um, side of things, which are the actions that the homeowner or the resident can take by themselves. So that looks like defensible space, home hardening, participating in May's Wildfire Preparedness Week, and becoming Firewise USA certified or recognized. But there are larger things and bigger things that you can do as a fire adapted community. One of the things we want to emphasize is that the end goal for becoming Firewise and fire adapted is not just educating your neighbors on defensible space. We want to encourage everyone to continue and to start working with the Forest Service or the CTC or your local fire district, whether that's at your work days by having a partner organization there to provide educational resources, demonstrations, things of that sort. In addition to establishing stewardship agreements with the larger state and federal agencies to be able to work on their urban vacant lots and improve your neighborhood's defensible space in doing so. And so a lot of that falls under the partnerships and community engagement, as well as some of the landscape treatments section as well. In addition, one of the other things to focus on is always that safety and evacuation piece, encouraging people to sign up for their emergency alerts, passing out some of those go bags and the evacuation checklists, and partnering with your local fire district or sheriff's department to educate people more on the evacuation routes and things of that sort. But the main goal for this upcoming year is to look beyond just that defensible space outreach and that home hardening outreach and see where you are able to partner with some of those local, state, and federal agencies to have a larger influence in your neighborhood. All right, Jason, over to you.
Thanks, Cricket. That was a really good segue. So I want to highlight some of the things that we can do to help as leaders and as communities that we can do to, continue to engage our community. And so we have some ideas for you that we would love to share that we've heard have worked well in other communities or that we think are working well right now. So I'll go through a few bullets and we'll pause for a couple questions and a few. So hang tight for a minute with me. One of the things we do like to highlight, and Cricket mentioned this, is stewardship agreements. And the U.S. Forest Service does allow for neighbors of vacant lots to sign up to be stewards of those properties. Many of you online already know this, but I'm going to be redundant anyhow and let you know that it is an option for many of us if we have a vacant lot next door to sign up and basically be the steward of that lot and do some light fuels reduction work. And most of it's in the name of doing our fire defensible space and work to make our communities safer. So one of the things that we encourage our homeowners or our neighborhood leaders to do is to encourage residents near these lots to become stewards. And then that way you have a place where folks can come together, we can meet, we can organize work days focused on these stewardship lots once you have a stewardship agreement in place. It's a good way to connect with neighbors and people can come together to work and really actually see visible results. So if you do a work day at one of these vacant lots or open space lots, yeah, there's lots of pine needles on some of them, and there's some things that can be removed, and it's a visual thing that happens really quick. So it works well to inspire participation, and it's a good place to use as an example of things that we can do and activities we can do. Right now, we have neighborhood maps in which the neighborhood maps for our fire adapted communities do now include the Forest Service and CTC lots, so California Tahoe Conservancy lots. And that's really important because it gives you an idea of where they actually are in your neighborhood and who might be neighboring there. And if you can, if you have neighbors who would be willing to sign up for those stewardship lots. Right now, we're in collaboration with the CTC, and it looks like they'll begin basin-wide forest stewardship agreements as well for 2026. Last year, there were several pilot areas, and like in Golden Bear, I see you're here, Patty. There are several different areas that were able to do it last year, and they were well received, and we're working on getting permissions and approvals all together. So it looks like it's coming down for CTC lots as well next year. Another way that we like to focus on engagement is really defensible space inspections. Cricket, you can go to the next one. Thanks. So the defensible space inspections and trends is really actually an important thing that's happening in your community. So we're going to start creating maps for all of our basin neighborhood groups. And those maps, you can see an example here on our slide, will show where the defensible space inspections have been done, where they're compliant and where they're not. And the cool thing about this, for me, I'm a visual person, but I think it's very cool that it graphically displays and shows you where you might need to be able to focus in your neighborhood. So you're seeing one of our fire adept community groups. In my opinion, I would focus on the areas that have no inspection history at all, and you can get into one of those areas with more yellow and get people to go door to door and ask them to request a fire defensible space inspection. It gives you a chance to focus efforts. Or if everybody's had one, then you start looking at maybe the areas that are really red, and it'll show, hey, maybe we should focus on the ones who have non-compliant fire defensible space inspections for one reason or another. And it also gives you a chance to know where your good neighbors are, and maybe those are the folks who would like to be helping in the neighborhood to spread the word as well, because they tend to think it's important if they have a compliant defensible space, meaning they're in good standing according to the fire defensible space inspection that they received. Now, another thing that's cool about these is over time, we'll be able to start showing trends of what's working for you and what's not working for you. So if you do take one of these maps and you focused on one of those yellow areas and it all turns green in a couple years, well, you'll know your efforts are coming to life, and it's really a beneficial thing for you to keep moving forward with that type of activity. So it shows you really well and really graphically, actually, if your efforts are working and where you can continue to focus. So we really like these maps. It's going to be a resource for all our fire defensive space communities. So look forward to those coming down the pipeline. Cricket's actually the one who's going to be creating those for us. So it's a big workload, but she'll be able to get through it hopefully through the winter time. All right, we can move to the next slide. Another focus item that we have is there's an ambassador program set up with students and the high schools to be able to help learn. The schools are out learning about fire defensive space, forestry practices, fuels reduction projects. And there are after school programs. There's the Tahoe Science field trips that end up happening, and also volunteer hours that these young ambassadors are looking for. So if you're able to partner with one of these ambassador programs within your local school district, oftentimes they can be one of the sources that come out and help with those Forest Service urban lots, and they can help do the fuels reduction and the fire defensive space activities on those lots. So it's a resource that may be available to many of us. I won't say will be, because they're busy and they can only take on so many of our projects. So it's kind of a first come, first served basis, but they do have some capacity. And Richard Kynette up there at the high school, at least in South Lake Tahoe, he wants to make this happen, and it's a great process. So look forward to that, and look for it if you're looking to embrace the community. And involving the students, we think, promotes the engagement of the whole community and the culture. So you're getting everybody to be fire aware, and it really does set up a community service feeling, which the kids usually are really all excited to help in the communities. It also, another thing that you can do is you can highlight your participation, taking lots of photos and stuff. When you send these photos out to some of the rest of your group, then it does inspire the rest of your neighborhood to get, going and be here to help. And so you can send it to the local media or use it for your own media sources. If you have those types of social media things that you're working on, I'll expand on that in a little bit. But keep that in mind that there is this program with the high schools, and it is a great resource. I'm sure there's questions on how to embrace some of this, but at this point, I'm going to stop for a second and ask if anyone has questions in specific to what we've covered so far, just to give a break and see if there's any points that we want to make. I see a couple in the chat possibly. No, okay.
Did you want us to go off mute or type in the chat?
You can go off mute. Raise your hand if you want, and we'll be able to call on you if there's a lot. But you look like the only one, Elizabeth. So go right ahead.
Okay, sorry. Kind of two brief questions. I love the idea of adopting a lot. We have lots in our area that have been cleaned, like conservation lots. But it would be nice to get the adjacent neighbors maybe more engaged. But I'm curious if it's across the street or two houses down, does it have, how close do you need to be to, I'll call it adopt a lot, or is it something that it's just could be part of the community?
It's a great question. It needs to be adjacent to your parcel. So they
Okay.
want people who are actually adjacent to those parcels. And for removing of the fuels, we have permission in many cases to have those fuels come through as fire defensive space removal. So basically what you're doing is enhancing the fire defensive space around your parcel. And so that's one of the reasons why it's a truly acceptable activity. So it works well that way.
Okay. And then at some point, you'll tell us, is there a way for neighbors to sign up for these? Or how does that work?
Yeah, well, I think that's going to be a good question. We'll cover that. We can send out resources, and one of them is working through your fire protection district. They can help you with getting a stewardship agreement. They have those on hand, at least for most of the area. Michelle, your hand's up. What did you want to add?
So for adopting the law, Elizabeth, what a lot of different groups have been doing around the lake is the leader works with the adjacent neighbour to sign up for the agreement, but then the whole committee and neighbours go then in and do the work. So it's just talking to that person originally. And for the sign-ups of the agreements on the South Shore, we do it a little bit differently. Cricket would be able to give you an agreement. On the West and North Shore, it's going to be Michael. So it's just a little bit different depending on where you live. So always contact me and ask first, and I'll point you in the right direction.
Thank you.
You'd like to have a copy of the defensible space inspection map. This is from Patricia Wheeler over at Golden Bear. Yeah, we'll be getting maps to all the fire defensible space inspection, the history that you saw there of another community. We're working on that, and we want to be able to provide it to all of our communities. So you'll be getting one of those in the near future throughout the winter, Patty. Tad, you've got a question?
Yeah, both the volunteers and the maps seem like great resources. Just a quick question on the volunteers. Are they clearing U.S. Forest Service land and lots, or are they only working on public lands within 100 feet of a residence?
So the focus for those stewardship programs are within the residence. So it's adjacent to existing parcels. Michelle kind of laid it out that you can work with your community leader to get signed up, and then the community can do a workday, or the ambassador program from one of the high schools can come down and do a workday on one of these lots. But typically it's not open Forest Service land, and if it's not adjacent to structures, typically they're not going to focus on those lots.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Question though. Yeah, great question. Thanks. Michael put his contact in the chat there. So if you guys are in Placer County or with North Tahoe Fire Protection District, you would be contacting Michael Haran, who's here online. So thanks for adding that, Michael. And Cricket also did the same. So you can see those resources. And if I don't see any other questions, I think we'll move along here. Good questions, though. Very good points. Thank you for bringing them up. So One thing that I also always like to remind folks, and Michelle's real good about this, is your committee starts off as typically you and the people you feel comfortable with, but don't just have that be the end result for your committee. So the more you can embrace, a different demographic, different type of person, whether it's you're a full-time homeowner and you can get some part-time homeowners into your committee. And I think that's one positive thing. Or just finding new members who are of different ages. I think it brings a different voice to your committee, and you might get a lot more exposure to different groups and also buy-in or engagement from many other people. But you see that it's a well-rounded selection of your community and not just a couple of you trying to lead the show. All of the leaders that we see are great, and you're doing a great job. It's a lot of work. And so always I'm trying to remind folks, try to delegate out so you're not the one doing everything. And the more you can delegate each of these small tasks and diversifying your community, you have a wider breadth of people who are going to help you, and it won't feel so overwhelming when there's certain things that come down, like our Firewise, you know, applications and keeping them going. It feels like a lot, and usually that falls on one of our committee members or more or less the leader. So if you can delegate out to different groups, I think it's a really good idea. So it's one of the most important things, although hard to capture how to do that always. But that's one thing that I think each of our leaders should always focus on is getting new members into the committee. Now, what's it mean to be a committee member? It doesn't mean a lot. It means that you're just there to help spread the word, and maybe they have a specific task. So what you make of a committee member as a leader can be very little or a lot. So keep that in mind too. And each person may only want to take on a little, or some people will want to take on a lot. So you got to rate the people who are coming into your group and joining to be on the committee, and treat them appropriately. So that's one thing I always make a recommendation is keep it tempered. Don't overwhelm anyone. So that's a good one. You can move to the next slide. Another thing that we really like to recommend is work to involve other local agencies and partners that are out there. Of course, we're going to engage with the local fire protection district representatives or the Tahoe RCD, Michelle, myself, Cricket, and others. But there's other agencies and other groups that you may be able to tap into. And that might bring more people in to your meetings, knowing that maybe they can talk to Southwest Gas, or maybe they can talk to the CCCs or somebody from a different group or the power companies, just to get questions answered from them and a representative from one of those groups. Someone from the Forest Service might be able to show up at one of your work days, for example, or a committee meeting. So keep in mind that it's a good idea to just, talk to those folks that are out there and try and get more of those agencies to embrace your meetings. Along that lines, it's a good idea to invite one of the defensible space inspectors from the local fire protection districts, have them do a demo around one of the houses or lead a short tour around a house. One of those tours that happens around a house, I think homeowners and people who are attending get the most out of, because they have a fire defensive space inspector there. You can talk freely about someone else's issues on their house, and it's not so overwhelming. It doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, he hates my house because he thinks there's vulnerable spots on it. They're going to point out those vulnerable spots on everybody's house, but it's nice when it's someone else's example and you can see it somewhere else living. So that's a less intimidating way to have engagement with your community members. So that's a great way to embrace and get engagement and have folks show up. Another way to have good engagement is organize evacuation planning exercises or mock evacuations. This way people understand where they might need to go. They know the ingress, egress, the ways in, the ways out of the community. And if there is an event, or when an event does come, they're ready and they're well prepared. They may already have their go bags together. They may not, but at least this way they're very close and they know who they're going to listen to and where they're going to go. So it takes some of the edge off of, well, I don't even know what to do if an event comes. So that's a good one. The UC Davis has an evacuation map that they sent out as a teaching tool, and we can also link you guys to that, which is a good resource also, and it helps kind of identify, some of the things I'm mentioning. So that's a tool that's out there for y'all. One of the things in the picture you see, we like to have or recommend having some sort of activity. So hands-on, people like to, I'm a contextual learner. I like to touch and feel things. Having some sort of activity for folks brings them in, it embraces not just the younger crew as we see in the picture, but also all of us can learn from those examples and those activities. So try and provide an activity at some of these events, your work days, or even a committee meeting, and get people to kind of look at things differently and feel things. And another thing, always encourage the Tahoe RCD to participate. We're here. We can't always make it to every meeting, but we'd love to come to committee meetings when we're available and neighborhood events. We're happy to give talks or explain what we're doing and why people are here and what's the strength of our program, just so that folks from your community can hear it from different voices. Really important, like I said, to have different people on your committee, but also having different people present to your group is super important. Different voices preaching the same thing, so to speak. It helps. It's redundancy, and it's something that people start hearing after we hear it several times, right? So that's another approach that we like to highlight. I think that covers that. So we can move to the next slide. Oh, yes. So outreach campaigns. Many of us in our groups don't have what we consider a campaign that we're doing outreach, but really are. If you're going door to door, that's one of them. So the goal that I think we're trying to push for, and I think is a really good idea, is really increasing the contacts you have in your neighborhood. So getting more emails so that you have an avenue as a leader to send information out. You'll have one large email, group that you can send all this information to, and the more emails you have, the more people you're hitting right away. So that's one thing that my community, Beth High, that we're working on this year, is trying to increase more of our contacts and just grow our contact list. So there's lots of ways we can do that, but one of the most effective ways to get emails is going door to door. So in my community, for example, we've got street leaders. I'm one of them. I've got a leader in my neighborhood, Beth. She's great. Thank you, Beth. She takes on a lot of the push, but we will be going door to door trying to get more email addresses from our groups and just to expand our street email lists. Another place you can get contacts from is when you do work days. Have people sign up on a sign-in sheet, and someone will be redundant, choose the same people, but you usually get a couple more. So there's another way. And then if you have large partner events, if you have, for example, I live in Myers, there's other events that happen near us for the community. Sometimes it's not really focused on my community, but if it's a community event and it's a larger event, well, you can try and work your way around and get some emails there too. So there's a couple ways for you. Keeping your contacts up to date is important. You can get information, for example, for vacant lots or even mailing addresses for others through the assessor's page. So your assessor's office and the website to the assessor's page sometimes is a great way to kind of dive in and find addresses for folks that you can't get them for. So we're looking at different ways to provide those. Right now, we can't provide them for all the parcels in your neighborhood, but on a specific case, Tahoe RCD can probably help on a couple of those too, and getting some contact mailing addresses for properties. And mainly being for vacant forest or forest lots, urban lots that are sitting and need some fuels reduction that you might want to focus on. So another way that I think is a great, outreach campaign, so to speak, is Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, a website possibly. There's a lot of social media avenues and platforms out there. Facebook's been around for a long time. Many of us can use it, and it is a good way to reach your community. So getting your community as a Facebook page or Instagram page or using Nextdoor, great ways to spread the word. And once people are, they get the notifications if you post to it, and they can post back to it. So it kind of creates the draw, and you can post pictures on it. So Instagram's kind of the same. So consider using those platforms if you haven't. Some of our other neighborhoods have websites. Patty Wheeler, do you still have yours for Golden Bear? I know they used to have one, or at least was functioning a while back, but some of our groups do have websites. So with that, that's a great way to do it. If you have someone who's tech savvy and can build a website, great way to spread the word, great way to keep people updated. So consider that too. Moving along a little bit onto another point, you can boost your visibility with banners and other types of flyers, possibly realtor brochure boxes or things where you can post information. So keep that in mind. We do provide banners. We're going to have some lawn signs that are coming out in 2026. So spring of 26, we'll have lawn signs, kind of like the political signs that you see, during voting season. So we'll have those coming. That's going to be a good resource. You'll have to check them out, but a good resource for like a workday event or when you're moving forward and trying to get a meeting started. So we'll have those available. Another way that is a positive way to gain more traction in your community. Many of us will have our work days. We post up in the same spot or right in front of the leader's home every year, and that's great. Thank you, leaders, for doing that. Consider choosing a different spot, somewhere around the corner where you haven't been visible before, or in front of one of the urban lots that you may have a steward for, and you're going to be doing a work day afterwards. So you could put your table for a work day meet and greet table in a different location. And David, I know you're out there at Spring Creek and Forest Service. Those lots and stewardship agreements are a little bit different. We can talk about that a little bit offline if you want to, but a little bit different because you guys are all Forest Service land. So I know they let you do some work, but not too far out into the land there. So we can talk more about that offline. Another one is to try and incorporate residents outside of the committee. So same thing. And when we're talking about the committee, building your action plan and your risk assessment, having folks who aren't in your committee take part of building an action plan if you can get them to attend a meeting is beneficial. So there's not a big commitment, they're not on the committee, but they can help with the action plan and also the risk assessment. So it helps build the inclusivity and the ownership to them of their community to make them feel owners in their community. And then also, like I mentioned before, you can create your own targeted maps to focus on efforts or less active areas. So using the resources that we've shown you, the Forest Service maps, where the lots are, and also where the defensible space inspections have been completed, it's totally feasible for you to take one of these maps annually and draw around it and tell the committee where you think we should focus, or tell your group where we're going to do our focus of this year, and really target in that area and see if you can get some traction in that area of your neighborhood. So brought to you several ideas. I'm sure there's a lot more. We'd love to hear them, maybe in the chat afterwards. But I think those are some good ideas, and it can help you keep moving forward and hopefully keep your community engaged and gain more engagement as you move forward in the future. So at this point, Michelle McLean is going to talk a little bit and give you some updates and talk a little bit more about Firewise and our Firewise process. So Michelle?
So before I move on, I just wanted to see, was there any questions from that last section that Jason was talking? Did anyone have questions? Nope. Okay. So I'm just going to give some quick updates on fire adapted communities and Firewise specifically. We did have one request for leaders. If you do have new leaders in your community, would you please let us know before you can start your Firewise application? Because we had one group who Michael and I had some issues with trying to find the new leaders. And then the new leaders didn't even know they were supposed to be doing the renewal application. Happily, we managed to submit in time, but it just would be great to have a heads up. I know many groups have new leaders this year, and you all gave us a heads up, and that was wonderful. Just a reminder that you do not have to redo your risk assessment and action plan every year. Your risk assessment is due every 5 years, and your action plan is due every 3. And the reason Firewise has done this is because for the risk assessment, we really do want to see, has there been change in your neighborhood in 5 years? So if you want to update these things every year, just keep them in your own personal computer as kind of a gauge for you moving forward, but you do not have to submit them in the Firewise application. Again, the action plan in California does have to be submitted on that CAL FIRE form. And I just wanted to point out that I know a lot of you use Google Forms, and it's great because that means your committee members can review and add and edit. But there are some issues when you download that and then upload again to Firewise. So just make sure that it goes back into the same Word document format that CAL FIRE gave us in the first place, because it will be returned. It's a little bit of a pain, unfortunately. But as long as you allow us to review prior to submittal, we'll catch that before it gets submitted anyway. Jason and I have been discussing this over the last couple of weeks. There was some push this year for groups not to submit their renewal application until the deadline of November 21st. We would like to let you know for next year, we don't expect that of you guys. If you're ready to submit, submit when you want to. It will sit there in the portal, and when Firewise is ready to review, it will be reviewed. Don't feel like you have to hold on to that last minute. Also, just so you're aware, you do not have to include every single hour or every single investment made in the year. If you've met your NFPA requirement, you can submit. So we just want to take that pressure off you a little bit. One thing that has happened this year, which was really good news, is we did finally have 4 risk assessments renewed on the North Tahoe fire side with Michael Harron. So he went out, he reviewed those neighborhoods who started 5 years ago, and we just want you to know your efforts are making change. So all 4 groups, we saw an increase in defensible space within the 0 to 5 and the 5 to 30 zones, which is wonderful. It means what you're doing works. And so hopefully we'll see improvement in the other neighborhoods as we move forward. We don't have risk assessments from any other groups until next year. We should have about another 11 next year. So this is great data that's coming out. One update for FAC and a reminder is that as a group, as a program, we're the Fire Adapted Community Network. So that means that our job is actually to network with your own groups, but also to connect you all together. So based on the Firewise requirements, where you have to have a work day, you have to have your hours, you also have to have an educational component. We kind of piggybacked on that a few years ago, and now we kind of request that every group attends an educational meeting once a year. This is considered one of your educational meetings. But I did want to clarify that we do not expect all committee members to attend, and we're only requiring 1 educational meeting per year. If you want to have other people attend, or if you want to attend more, that's wonderful. We have had a lot more participation this year, and it's really nice because it keeps us in contact with you, and you also get to meet different people. One of the reasons we really want to keep doing this is because prior to 2023, there wasn't any real connection or continued partnership with groups around the lake. Some of the people in the South Shore connected together, or some in the North Shore, but there wasn't a network. It wasn't a whole basin-wide community, which is what our job is. So just to explain, again, it's only 1 educational meeting per group per year. We have been working a lot to try and provide a lot of more recordings so we can increase our video library. So recently we just had some fire adapted community webinars with Living with Fire, And we had getting your community organized, ideas for action, and keeping your community engaged. They are recorded and they're available on our YouTube website, which I will send you the link to. One of the reasons we're doing this is we have capacity. We have Cricket, we have Kat, the Wildfire Fellows. We also just recently had Kelsey, our assistant, who are doing a wonderful job of providing us with these online resources. After Christmas, we're going to have another series of webinars, which is going to focus on Meet FAC, Meet the Forest Service, and Meet CTC, where we're going to have questions and answers based on those land agencies and the programming that we do ourselves. These resources we're really trying to bulk up, because when we're bringing on new groups, we have a lot of groups, by the way. We have 105 right now, which is a lot around the lake. And we just really want to make sure that you all have the resources that you need when you need them. So we updated our website this year, and we added a new neighborhood leader library. Now, this was a request from the leaders. We discussed this throughout the year. So we added in there information sheets. We have templates. We have examples from leaders who have been working doing the work. So if you have any other suggestions, if you check that out, please send those to me, myself, and Cricket. We are adding new documents all the time. For example, Matthew Plunkett over at Kailui Park just suggested a change to our facts question sheet. So we just added to that. So we're always here to make those changes. Another update is that the Tahoe Fire and Fuels team have started coordinating a newsletter. So there's now a prescribed fire newsletter for the winter and fall. And there's also going to be a new fuel reduction newsletter for spring, summer, and fall for next year. If you're interested in learning more about those, just go to our social media pages, our Facebook page, click on the newsletter, and you'll have contact details for Caitlin, who can sign you up for those newsletters. Next year, we are going to be having a mini FAC conference. We were going to have a larger, more similar to the FAN Nevada conference, but we've decided to hold off on that for 2027. But for next year, we're going to have these mini conference workshops. They're going to be like popping up around the basin online, probably April through June, perhaps March, working with our partners like TFFT, Living with Fire, and providing these workshop opportunities for leaders and new leaders. If you have any suggestions, I've already asked you this, so I do have suggestions from you guys, but send them to me. We're interested to know what you would like to know. Quickly, before I pass this on to Beth over at Laura Apache, who has some updates about her Firewise community funds, I do have some requests. I will be sending out an email to ask, would you like a defensible space map now? Would you like to sign up for a CTC agreement for next year? Again, I've asked a number of you this. I do have that information. Also, we would like to know how many people are on your contact lists, because what we're seeing is those contact lists tell us what kind of participation you have in your neighborhood, just like the defensible space inspections. And these are the kind of metrics that we really need for reporting and moving forward with further grant funding. So I will be sending out an email requesting this information, and we would really appreciate if you could give us that. So I'm going to pass it over to Beth if she's here, and she's going to give us an update on her foundation and also on some new coolers that she's bought. Sorry, my throat's getting dry.
Hi, I'm Beth, and we have created a South Lake Tahoe Firewise Community Fund. I just put it in the chat. Their goal is to help groups get started. And so you can ask for a small grant up to probably $300 for specific reasons. The goal is to get the new groups started. Many people who get started in this, they invest a lot of time and a lot of out-of-pocket money. And this way we can cover postage, printing, or a few other minor things to get your group up and running. I also included the link so that you can make donations and you can forward that to your group and see if people will make contributions to this South Tahoe Firewise Community Fund. It's strictly for South Lake Tahoe Firewise groups, and we're targeting groups that are 3 years or younger just to get them up and running. Once you hit a certain point, you should have your own internal growth and ability to fund yourself or do fundraisers yourself. But when the groups are starting up, a lot of times there's a lot of out-of-pocket money and time. So we're trying to help them get started. Leona, are you here?
I think Leon is joining us a little bit later.
Okay.
Beth, did you want to talk about the coolers a little bit?
Oh yeah, I forgot about the coolers. So one of the first things we did with the community fund is we bought 2 of those big orange, I think they're 5-gallon or 10-gallon coolers. And who's storing them? Are you guys storing them, Michelle?
Jason and I spoke about it. We do have space to store, and then we would set up a schedule probably like on a Monday during 9 to 12. People would have to come and pick them up, and then they would come and bring them back the following Monday at the same time.
So our goal is that you can borrow them. There are 2, because I know that during this upcoming fire season, when you do your cleanups, more than one of us are going to have a cleanup at a time. So there are 2 of them. You need to make a reservation to get them. We appreciate if you would turn them clean so that the next group doesn't have to clean them up before they use them. So please clean them and dry them. They are labeled for the Firewise group. And if we need more in time, we can buy more. The community fund can cover that. I actually found them on sale at Walmart for $30 a piece. So I bought 2.
Great. And we'll be sending out that information in a future email as well.
So Charlie just asked a question about tax reporting. So this goes through the El Dorado County Community Fund. And so they're the not-for-profit. And so they're the major entity that handles all our little not-for-profits in the El Dorado County area. And so that's why we set it up that way, is they have a not-for-profit number and we're just a little baby subgroup under their major not-for-profit number. So you may make contributions to them and it's tax deductible. If somebody also asked about other umbrellas, you can go to the website, El Dorado County Community Fund, and they have a whole bunch of different organizations under their umbrella that you can make contributions to, which include homeless and food and pets, and there's a whole variety of things, health, welfare, and anything you can think of. There's probably something in there that you can make contributions to. It's under one tax ID number, and they have all these subgroups, which includes ours. Any other questions?
No, but Beth, I just want to say that's such an amazing thing you're doing. Thank you so much.
Well, we're trying to get the new group started, and we had some funding to do it with, so that's where we are. Thank you.
Of course. And then I do just have one more slide. I almost forgot about cricket. We have been having a number of research coming out from Berkeley. They've amalgamated a lot of the information across the nation, especially with the Los Angeles fires. We're starting to get a lot of good data out where we can actually now say, when people are asking, well, what's the point? Well, here's the point. If you are clearing your defensible space zone 0 to 5, you're doing your home hardening, you definitely are going to reduce your wildfire risk. You can see in this graph that it clearly shows this. So when people are asking this now, we really want to put this point across that we do have evidence now. It's coming out. We're going to be printing these up as handouts for your groups. And now, Cricket, I believe we're going to open up to questions.
Yes, if you have a question, you're welcome to raise your hand or type it in the chat, and Jason, Michelle, or myself will make sure it gets answered. So, does anyone have any questions? I think Linda might be asking for the link to the El Dorado Community Fund, perhaps, in the chat.
We did have some questions. If I want, I can cover these just now.
Yeah. Can you send us the little pictures you showed of how impactful it was to do the defensible space? Because I'd like to send that to our group.
Yes,
I would too.
sorry, we're going to create actual little handout. Kat Langham, who is our other fellow, she's been doing a lot of that work for us. So we're going to work on that now and get those out to you and get them printed up as well.
Okay.
But yes, I'll send it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Tom has a question, Jason, about funding.
Yeah, so I'll field that one, and then we'll take from Anders next. So Tom, great question. What's the status of BLM SNPMA funding to the Tahoe Fire and Fuels Team, Tahoe RCD, and FAC? So specifically, I can answer for the Tahoe RCD's Fire Adapted Communities program, which we work under, and we have fundings for the next several years through 2028, basically. And so we have about 3 more seasons left there, and we're looking to apply for another round of funding. So these are all grant funds that help pay for our services. They help pay for the fire defensible space inspections. They help pay for the chipping programs and lot inspections that you're getting. So as communities, the resource from BLM is helping all of our communities, 105 different fire adapted communities. We're looking to put in for another round of funding, but right now they're holding on to those rounds and they haven't released the next round, which we'd be working under. And so we're anxiously awaiting round 21, but right now it hasn't been flown. They anticipated opening it in January, but that's been pushed back. So we'll wait to see, and it does take a couple years for grants to come through. So if we do receive funding from BLM, for example, the SNPMA program that they have, Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act, if you don't want to know what SNPMA is, those funds are hoping to be announced upcoming this spring, and we'll be hoping to have those funds turned on mid of 28. So a couple year process for us to bring funds into the Tahoe RCD. For the Tahoe Fire and Fuels team, that's a different source of funding. And right now they're being funded. They have a coordinator that's funded and a program manager that's being funded, or an assistant, I should say, with the program manager. And those funds come from TRPA, I think originated from different sources. And right now we have a year of a coordinator, basically the program manager who's coordinating the Tahoe Fire and Fuels team. Otherwise, other folks who are partners and signatories to the Tahoe Fire and Fuels team effort, those are not usually funded positions. So it's done as part of our other jobs, and we take on different roles as assistants to the Tahoe Fire and Fuels team. So a little bit of a different answer for that one. Anders, I'm not sure your first name is. You got a question?
You maybe talk to me, Jim Anderson.
Yeah, sorry, Anderson. That's what I'm seeing.
Okay. So, yeah, and I don't know if you've heard anything. I've been in contact with some of the agencies around us. And there's just talk. Have you heard anything about changes in, especially enforcement of the defensible space program following the LA fires? There's some rumors flying around that enforcement might get a little stricter, or there's some things coming down the pike in 26 that are going to change. Have you caught wind of any of that?
So, and I'm going to put Cricket on the spot in a minute too, but in our coordination and partnership with all the fire protection districts, we don't hear that that will be an issue or enforcement will be coming down the pipeline right now. Most of the fire protection districts aren't out to use the big stick, meaning enforcement, to get us to do what we should be doing anyhow on our properties to make them safer. They really do want to partner with our communities and be a resource of information for all of us as homeowners and partners to our communities. They're not looking to come in and use the law. In many counties, the law is there and they can enforce on non-compliant properties. but typically that's not going to go to like a fine type thing. It's usually rounds of enforcement, meaning a defensible space inspection, then notices that they need to comply, and it's usually with the very worst offenders. So it's not usually because you have a wood pile next to your house and someone calls on you. That's rarely going to be the case. But I haven't heard that enforcement is coming down the pipeline. And Cricket, you're there with City of South Lake Tahoe and with Lake Valley Fire Protection District. Have you heard of anything like that coming down the pipeline either?
I haven't, like you said, a lot of this is more so for the defensible space inspections. It's a education and outreach piece for the fire departments. When it is a property or a parcel that is very poorly maintained, which is they're very much non-compliant. It is quite obvious from the curbside, then they might send them to code enforcement. But like Jason said, if it's a wood pile, if it's a couple things that can be changed and you are engaging with the fire departments, there won't be an issue as far as enforcement goes.
Michelle here with Tahoe Douglas Fire. Sorry, I can agree there with Cricket. Same thing, that we're not going around and just enforcing stuff. We are, however, with our vacation home rental program, we are cracking down more on that to make sure that they are compliant with second homeowners, or not second homeowners, vacation home rentals, because those people aren't used to those homes, and we want to keep them as safe as possible, to keep our neighborhoods as safe as possible, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Michelle.
I just wanted to see if Mike O'Haran had anything to add.
Yeah, no, I second what Michelle Turner said. We definitely aren't looking to start going after people randomly. We are actively enforcing with our short-term rental permit properties and vacation home rental properties. For the highly egregious properties, there are those notices, but Cricket summed it up perfectly. We're not going to go after that one negligent wood pile. So yeah, I just pretty much second everything.
Okay.
I'm going to jump into the chat real quick, and then we'll get to your question, Tad, okay? We have a question. Are you familiar with Rock Rose Insurance Company? And there's an article in the Tribune that went out that highlighted the demo project or pilot project that Tahoe Fund has been working on. Rock Rose is an insurance company that's out there. They're writing some insurance policies up in the basin, but they're looking, for the most part, to work with HOAs and larger type developments. So they may entertain coming into single family residence in certain neighborhoods once they identify the neighborhoods that they feel are safe enough. But right now they're engaged in working with HOA type structures and them basically groups that have a maintenance crew that's doing the work already. So that's where Rock Rose is really looking and finding their niche. But we've heard of them. We don't hear of them writing policies outside of those groups yet, but I might be wrong. So more to come on that topic, I think. Tad, what's your question?
Thanks. It kind of follows up on yours. I was just going to add, there's a company named Delos that puts out that it's doing high-tech evaluation house by house for fire risk, and they're insuring. But like your company, they're limited. They're not insuring houses that are rented at any time of the year. I did want to say that your suggestion to incorporate other agencies at meetings, that would really, I think, get some people interested in coming if they could talk face to face. In our neighborhood, there are water tanks by South Lake Tahoe Public Utilities, and I'm sure we'd like to ask what defensible space measures they've taken with those and the capacity in a wildfire if they can serve both the fire departments as well as residents, possibly hooking up to the hydrants. So I just wanted to ask you guys if you thought there were any other utilities that would be amenable for these meetings. I was thinking about the electric company, Liberty. PG&E, but I thought again that they might be a little cagey, wanting to talk about their shutoffs and the mitigation around their power lines, and like if a resident wanted trimming around their power line or tree trimming. I was just asking your just food for thought, basically.
So if I can restate what you're saying, mainly what other groups would we recommend having in terms of the true utilities that might be able to attend some of your meetings?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think your ingenuity of even bringing up STPD or some other source, water purveyors, those are good ones to think of. And we don't necessarily have contacts for all of them. Sometimes it's going to be us as neighborhood leaders reaching out and finding contacts. But we do have some contacts, and if you're getting ready, as you're starting to get ready to plan your workday or a committee meeting, and you want to have, someone from that group, a voice, then let's talk about it and we can try and get a contact for you because it is important. And there are definitely, I think the utilities, they want to share what they're doing because there is a lot of hard work going on by all these utility groups to make our communities safer. So I think they're more than happy to embrace and share that information when they get a chance. And doesn't mean they can make it to all of our meetings, but maybe they will be able to, spare someone and make it to one of our meetings. So I see some other stuff going in the chat. I don't know if we missed anything. Vicky, you got the note below that Michelle gave back for contacts for the U.S. Forest Service stewardship agreements. Like I said, if you're you can work with your local fire protection district. They do have those, and they can issue a stewardship agreement for the Forest Service lots. CTC is going to be a different process. They're going to want to meet on site with someone and kind of do pre-site inspection, and then after the work's done, they like to do an inspection as well and see what is working and what's not, and see if they need to wrangle in on what they're allowing people to do. So California Tall Conservancy might be a little bit different. Michelle, you have a clarification?
Yeah, Dana had a question. How are SDR passing DS inspections with shake roofs? These are highly flammable. Mako, do you have an answer?
Yeah, I can chime in on that. It's exactly as what the inspection's titled, defensible space. The wood shake roofs unfortunately do fall under that home hardening piece of our inspections now do include home hardening as well. They are not required for that permit agreement. The biggest enforcer I have seen, at least in our district, for the wood shake roofs is actually going to be the insurance companies. Majority of insurance companies just absolutely will not touch homes with a wood shake roof at this point. And we are seeing a lot of new Class A roofs getting put on because of those insurance purposes. There is the unfortunate aspect that some people are willing to self-insure. I haven't heard anything through the rumor mill regarding enforcing on the home hardening pieces, but maybe somebody else here could chime in on that.
Thanks, Michael. I haven't heard of anyone looking to start to enforce on home hardening. There has been talk legislative wise about what we can do to make our communities safer, but we haven't heard anything really materialize out of those discussions. And quite frankly, I don't know if any of us are ready to have our homes be enforced upon for home hardening reasons.
Jason?
So I'm very, yeah,
Michelle again with TDF. As far as shake roofs, I'm going to guess or go ahead and say that until it becomes an enforceable code, like it gets updated in a code, it's going to fall under whatever code year that the house was built. So the same as where I can't go make somebody put sprinklers in their home unless they're building it brand new. And I could say, okay, well, it's being built in the 2024 code. Therefore, it states that all homes in a high WUI area have to have sprinklers. So until it actually were to get put into code that shake roofs weren't allowed, we couldn't enforce it. And it would only be then if they were making a change to the home, like getting it getting a new roof, they wouldn't be able to put shake tiles on anymore. I will say also that I have seen in my district people making replica shake roofs, so it looks like shake, but it's actually Class A rated WUI material, and they just like the retro look. So there's some weird stuff out there as well.
Thanks for that clarification. Very nice.
Jason, I just have some updates from the chat. There was a question about purchasing Firewise information. NFPA started charging us to purchase those. Jason and I will discuss purchasing some more for next year. Otherwise, you can go on their website. I will share that link. Someone else asked about the Firewise signs. Typically, when you're doing your initial application, that's the last question on your application or on your renewal application. If you still need a sign, just let us know and we'll try and get in touch with NFPA and see if we can get that organized for you. If you want more than 2 signs, you can purchase those online. They are on back order. One last thing though, before I forget, I want to thank Jackie Chandler over at Whispering Pines. She has created us a Firewise song, Fire Adapted Community song, that we will be posting on our social media posts soon. So stay tuned and you'll be able to listen to that. She also put it in the chat. So thank you, Jackie.
That's super cool. Thank you, Jackie. Hey, I noticed that you put in the chat also, rooftop sprinkler systems, are they now being suggested? It depends on who you talk to. The water purveyors will tell you no, they're not going to suggest those, and it's not going to be something that's going to save your house typically. And for example, in the Caldor fire, there was a couple people who put sprinklers on the top of their roofs and they flooded their houses, and then the public utility district went and turned off their water anyhow. So that's up to you, in terms of trying to put a sprinkler on your roof. But in terms of custom built sprinkler systems, I know South Tahoe Public Utility District will say you need a separate reservoir for that water that's running on a generator. You can't tap into the water line for that. That used to be their typical standpoint. I used to work for Stupid, so I know that. The reason being is those fire protection districts need the water on call when they're in front of someone's structure trying to put that structure out. Fire hydrants don't typically put out forest fires. They're there to put out a house that's engaged and not 20 homes engaged at once. So if everybody had sprinklers running on their roofs, there would be no pressure for the fire protection districts to safely put out the house on the edge of the community that's starting to be engulfed in flames. One thing we should all remember is if many homes are on fire, like what happened in Los Angeles, there's not enough water in any water system to provide enough hoses to every single house on fire. So none of the water systems nationwide are built to put out 100 homes at a time. So keep that in mind. We want to make our homes safer so that they're more protected for the environment and hopefully resistant to embers. Jackie, yes, I think that Michelle Turner was referring to in Tahoe Douglas or other areas, new homes will have sprinkler systems inside. So they're inside the structure, sprinkler systems. So if your structure catches on fire from within, it would put them out. But we're not talking about sprinkler systems on the outside.
Yeah, that's correct, Jason. And also what you were saying about the fire, we call that fire flow for how much water flow goes to each hydrant. And when homes are built around a hydrant, there's like it has to have so much fire flow to be able to take care of that many homes in that small area. That's why there's hydrants like every 500 feet because it can only handle so much. And in a lot of our areas, because we're so spread out, if you build a new home, we will actually have you put a water tank in your house to start off that because the fire flow might not be enough to run down to where your home is. So we're taking that into consideration, but we also wouldn't want you to put the sprinklers on the outside of your home due to taking away fire flow from fighting the fires that we'd be working on.
Thanks, Michelle. We have one from the chat, and then Michelle McLean, though, did you have something you wanted to add?
It was Elizabeth had asked about who maintains the fire hydrants. It's different by fire district. Michael, did you want to talk about North Tahoe Fire?
Yeah, North Tahoe Fire, the two primary water providers are going to be Tahoe City Public Utility District. They pretty much run from Tahoe City all the way down the West Shore. And then North Tahoe Public Utility District, which is from State Line, Kings Beach, over into bordering Tahoe City. We are also in a unique position, I believe, with the number of private water companies. So certain neighborhoods like Agate Bay, or Tahoe Pines have their own private water companies. So you will want to reach out to them regarding maintenance of fire hydrants. If you are curious, you can reach out to us and we can help you figure out which water provider is responsible for your area.
Sorry, I'll just go off mute for a second. I did reach out because I think I talked to you guys before about getting it maintained, and I wanted to get a riser on ours because it's kind of low and we end up digging it out a lot. And I did call. No one ever called me back. And then we did have the fire department, I noticed, drove by when they put up the snow stakes. And I kind of like, I wish the fire department had more teeth to at least say, hey, you guys, we've inspected it, or we think it works. So there was even a tag on it that said, yes, this fire hydrant is working. Because right now I kind of feel like I have no confidence that it actually works because I don't feel like it's been maintained. And that's just because I can't tell.
And so I will chime in on this one because I did work for South Tahoe Public Utility District. They had now this is in South Tahoe area,
right?
So their whole service area, they had a very robust system where they would go and flush out hydrants annually and check to make sure they were working. Even when they didn't do that, those hydrants are tied into the same exact water line that you get out of your sink. So if there's no water coming from your sink, then I would be worried that the fire hydrant's not working. But those fire hydrants are designed to sit inactive for years and years until they're needed. Okay. So even though it seems like it's not working, I bet you the fire hydrant's doing it's ready to go. I'm guessing.
Thank you. All right.
But yeah, I don't know if they'll put a tag on it telling you that it's been inspected just for reasons of then people will wonder, well, why isn't there a tag on mine? And I need to get this, and the workload that it might create, I think they worry about. So from what I've seen, I wouldn't worry about those fire hydrants. They're definitely the strongest plumbing out there.
All right, we'll just keep trying to get the riser then. Thank you. I feel better actually. Yeah. I'll tell my neighbors that because we were actually wondering, like, how do we know if they actually work? So thank you.
Yeah, we've seen them half buried too, but they still work just fine half buried. Tad, you have another question for us?
Yeah, thank you. This one's actually to the Al Tahoe Firewise leader. I don't know your name, so if you could unmute to answer. I just got on your website. Shout out for an excellent website. And you have a list of all these insurance companies that are currently offering discounts for Firewise recognition. And I'm going to copy and paste that and just pointing it out for the group. I just wanted to ask you if you felt it was pretty up to date.
Diane, that would be directed to you if you're still on.
Yeah, I'm still on. I've been trying to get an updated list. That one is an old one. They have not responded at all. I'll try again this week and see if I can get to my contacts and see if they've updated it. I am on all the workshops. I know that some of the insurance companies are going to increase by 6.9% their rates this year because if they stay under 7%, they don't have to file another report. So, anticipate increases in the rates of at least 6.9% from some of the majors. But
that would be welcome for all of us on California Fair Plan if it was only 6.9. I suspect it's going to be a lot higher. But yeah, if there's any way you can get that to Cricket and we could get it out to all the Firewise leaders, that would be awesome.
Yes, I'll try that tomorrow and see if I can get an update.
Chad, thanks for bringing up, one of the elephants in the room, so to speak, of the insurance issue. And it always is a topic du jour when we're meeting with our groups, and a concern for all of us as homeowners to, understand and know if we're going to be insurable in the future. The one thing that I do always remind folks is whether you get a discount or whether you get to keep your insurance, being involved in a Firewise group is a good thing. And it does show that your community is working on this, and the insurance groups do see it. Doesn't always mean you're going to get a discount, and it doesn't always mean that anything's going to change, but you may get a discount. So there may be benefits, but mainly the insurance groups do see that you're working together as a group and that things are slowly taking place. So insurance groups do recognize it. Doesn't always mean that we're going to get discounts. So I like to always remind folks of that's the hope, but it hopefully means we're going to keep our insurance and not have to, sorry, Tad, be on the FAIR plan.
Also, I just wanted to say one more thing about the insurance, and now I forgot what I was going to say. If I'll get back to you if I can remember.
Michelle, you got your hand up.
So Dana was asking if we could give a tour to Firewise leaders of Christmas Valley because of the defensible space work that was done and the fuel reduction work that was done in the WUI prior to the Caldor fire. I just wanted to point out this is a great thing to suggest to us because that's an idea for a workshop for next year. So yes, we are definitely going to look into that. If you have other ideas like that, send them to me and Cricket, and we will discuss with our group. Is Cricket still there?
I am, yes.
Okay.
If we're all good on questions, and we can move on to the final slide. Perfect.
Yeah, it looks like no other questions are coming in.
All right. So as always, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself and Michelle with all of your questions, requests for stewardship agreements, maps, things of that sort. Tahoe Living with Fire is your one-stop shop for everything related to fire-adapted communities, Firewise. We always want to plug, like Michelle said, the Neighborhood Leader Library. That'll be under the Resources tab, and that has a bunch of information on getting your fire-adapted community set up, sustaining it, in addition to templates you can use for flyers, risk assessments, things of that sort. Kat is the one updating the Tahoe Living with Fire Instagram and Facebook. So shout out to Kat for the really cool content she's been pushing for the last couple months. But other than that, Michelle, did you have the Google form to send out?
I do not. I will be
Okay.
sending that out though. So
Perfect.
I'll be asking, do you want your defensible space maps now? Because Cricket can start working on that very slowly. It's going to take a long time for 105 groups. Do you want CTC agreements next year so we can let CTC know we already have a list on board? And also a number for your contact lists. How many do you have on there? So we can figure out what percentage that is of your neighborhood. And thank you ahead of time. That would be very much appreciated.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. So yes, please be on the lookout for that. That is how we'll be able to prioritize those maps and the agreements. Kat just put in the chat to make sure that you are signed up for the Fire Adapted Communities newsletter and send that out to all the people on your contact list to get them to sign up as well, because that gets sent out every 2 months, and it just gives you kind of an update of what we've all been up to for those 60 days. So see the chat for that link. Other than that, thank you so much for joining. Jason, do you have any final words?
Happy holidays. Thank you all for being here.
Perfect. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you. Bye.